Want to go to Michael Dukakis right now, the 1988 Democratic Party standard bearer, three-term governor of the state of Massachusetts, and the Massachusetts miracle. And we're told the miracle today would be Republicans holding on to the House. Consensus and predictions are always dangerous. So, Governor, you can maybe remind us of that. Do you think your party is getting ahead of itself, counting its midterm winning chickens?
Well, you never count your chickens. I think we have a great opportunity to take over the House and hold us and make gains in the Senate, but we've got to get out there. This has got to be a 50-state campaign, Neil. None of this red-blue stuff. We're doing extremely well, as you know, in lower-level offices in places that voted overwhelmingly from Trump. So I think the prospects are good. But as you know, I'm obsessive on the importance of grassroots campaigning and precinct-based organization. That's what we've got to do, and we've got to do it in every one of the 50 states.
You know, I was thinking of you, Governor, and as a former governor, maybe you can offer some perspective on this. Phil Murphy, former Goldman Sachs executive, spent $20 million getting elected governor of New Jersey. He now is coming after Chris Christie. He is talking up still a millionaire's tax, a surtax, that has divided him with some fellow Democrats. He has the run of the state lever there with both houses of the legislature and, of course, the governor's mansion. But some saying go slow, especially in a high-tax state. A lot of residents can't write off as much as they used to, so that could boomerang on him. What do you say?
Well, you know, he's a native of Newton, Massachusetts, Neil, so you have to
he can't be that bad, right?
He's very, very good, and he's going to be an excellent governor.
So the idea of still going through with a surtax on millionaires, would you do that?
Well, we're going to have it on the ballot in Massachusetts shortly, and I'm certainly going to support it. I see no reason why. And by the way, we have a very impressive number of successful business people and others who are millionaires who are supporting it because they see the importance of it. Look, we have two principal needs in Massachusetts. One of them schools, and the other one's transportation. And people know it and sense it. And I think the referendums are going to pass, and I think we're going to be fine. Massachusetts is doing extremely well these days, as you know, economically. And we feel good about it. We still have some regional economic issues that we've got to work on. But I think it's going to pass in Massachusetts. And
so you don't think any of those people will be chased away from the state because they said, "Oh, the hell with it"?
No. That's a myth. That's a myth. Yeah, they're going to.
Well, it wasn't a myth in Illinois, right? It wasn't a myth there, right? It wasn't a myth in Connecticut.
Well, if you look at the numbers, it's really not significant. I mean, people want to stay where they are, and I think most Americans feel this sense of unfairness. I mean, we've just passed a tax bill, which I think is a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
83% of the benefits going to the wealthiest 1% of the population at a time when we're running a federal deficit of $600 billion. I mean, I don't understand this deal, to tell you the truth. I'm supposed to be a liberal.
Governor, you got to be surprised at all these companies. Look at these companies, though, that are now sharing the loot with workers and bonuses and extra stuff like that. Would you have envisioned that when it was first proposed?
Let's wait and see. All I know is we've got a $600 billion current federal deficit at a time when we're close to full employment. This is crazy.
But those deficits were piling up. Those deficits were piling up under Barack Obama, right? They seem to pile up no matter what.
Well, wait a second. He cut it significantly, proposed all kinds of revenue measures, and they were rejected by the Republicans. I mean, that's what happened. It isn't that he wasn't trying to balance that budget. Now, it's open season. I mean, I don't understand this. Republicans used to be committed to fiscal responsibility. That's out. You know, deficits don't matter anymore.
You're not blaming the $10 trillion in added debt, Governor, squarely on Republicans that last go around, right?
Wait a second, Neil. You were around in Bill Clinton's last year, weren't you? You remember his State of the Union address where he proposed? Remember, he proposed a plan to reduce and eliminate the national debt in 10 to 12 years. Remember that? And it was real. At that time, we had $250 billion surplus. What happened? Well, Al Gore won the election, but George Bush took over with this crazy electoral college system of ours.
Yeah.
Immediately a tax cut, mostly for the rich. Then we went into this war in Iraq, which has cost us $3 trillion, and then another tax cut for the rich under Bush, and disaster economically. Now, it took Barack Obama 8 years to get us back to something close to a balanced budget. Couldn't get the revenue that he was looking for from a Republican Congress, which it just refused to approve them. We're looking, do you know what we're paying now in debt service, that is interest in the national debt every year? You know what that number is? It's $500 billion. We're paying just on interest of the national debt.
But, Governor, you do have to remember as well that Barack Obama had the run of the table in his first 2 years in office. A lot of that started happening then, right?
Well, he had to stimulate the economy. God, we were in terrible shape.
Right.
I mean, Wall Street was hysterical.
How do you think President Trump is doing right now? What do you think of him?
Well, I think he's a disaster. I mean, you don't know from one day to the next where he is, what he's doing.
Don't sugarcoat it, Governor. What do you really think of him?
Look, just look at the last week. You never know where he is from day to day. I mean, his chief of staff, another great product of Massachusetts and Boston, explains that this whole thing about the border is evolving. That wall is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I mean, doesn't he know that we have a shoreline that we share with Mexico for thousands of miles? What does he think is going to happen if he builds this thing? In any event, his chief of staff explains that we're evolving on this thing. He turns around the next day and basically countermands his chief of staff. I mean, this goes on every day. And I don't know how you deal with them, but I know this. If we're going to straighten this out, the Democrats are going to have to go out and win these midterm elections, and I hope and expect we're going to do so.
Well, they hope with these protests today, they're getting their marching orders and doing just that. We shall see. Governor Dukakis, always good having you. Thank you for taking the time.